A quiet morning in rural Tennessee was suddenly shattered by a mysterious disappearance. Holly Bobo, a 20-year-old young woman full of dreams and ambition, left her home for school, but that would be the last time her family ever saw her alive. In just a matter of minutes, she vanished in broad daylight, leaving behind only faint traces and a haunting list of unanswered questions. More than 3 years later, her remains were finally discovered, revealing a deeply complicated investigation filled with conflicting statements and dark secrets. This case didn't just shock the state of Tennessee, it became one of the most disturbing mysteries in modern American criminal history. You're watching Detective Gray Files, where we explore the most mysterious cases and the most chilling stories. And, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you so much. In a quiet part of Henderson County, Tennessee, near Interstate 40, a tragedy unfolded. This area, known for its forests and peaceful rivers, had once been calm and untouched, but years ago, that peace was permanently broken by a single disappearance. The investigation lasted 7 years and cost millions of dollars, making it the most expensive case in the history of Tennessee. The victim was a young woman named Holly Bobo. On the morning of April 13, 2011, at 7:50 in the morning, the sound of barking dogs suddenly woke up Clint Bobo. His parents had already left for work, and still half asleep, Clint walked into the kitchen. Through the window, he saw Holly standing in the garage with a man wearing camouflage. Suddenly, she dropped to the ground, her voice filled with panic, and Clint could faintly hear her saying, "No, why you?" At the time, Holly was a nursing student at the University of Tennessee at Martin. She was outgoing and loved nature. Clint initially thought she was arguing with her boyfriend, Drew, because the night before, Drew had mentioned going turkey hunting, and the camouflage outfit didn't seem unusual. However, something didn't feel right. Holly had an important exam at 8 that morning, yet she was still at home. As Clint hesitated, his phone suddenly rang. It was his mother, her voice filled with panic, telling him to check on Holly immediately because a neighbor had reported hearing a scream. Clint replied that Holly had just gotten up and was walking toward the woods with her boyfriend. But his mother suddenly shouted that it wasn't Drew. Confused, Clint insisted it was, but she hung up and immediately called 911. Because her workplace was far away, the emergency call was mistakenly routed to a neighboring county, causing a delay in response. During that time, Clint began to realize something was wrong. The man he saw was much taller and bigger than Drew. He tried calling both Holly and Drew, but neither of them answered. Feeling that something was seriously wrong, Clint grabbed a weapon and prepared to run toward the woods. But before leaving, he noticed something suspicious in the garage and immediately called the police. About 10 minutes later, his parents returned in panic, along with investigators. Their statements painted a troubling picture. Holly's father said he saw her awake at 5 in the morning, studying, and noticed nothing unusual. Her mother, a school teacher, later confirmed that Drew was hunting in a completely different location, and she was certain the man with Holly was not her boyfriend. Clint claimed he had been asleep and didn't hear any screaming, but a neighbor reported that at 7:50 that morning they heard a loud scream followed by a white pickup truck speeding away. Police immediately secured the house and surrounding area. There were no signs of forced entry, but inside the garage they discovered small drops of blood that were later confirmed to belong to Holly. An unidentified fingerprint was also found on a vehicle, but no additional biological evidence could be recovered. Holly's phone was unreachable, and investigators quickly realized this was a serious case that required immediate action. Hundreds of volunteers joined the search, forming a massive network across the area, but by the next morning, all efforts had failed. Holly Bobo had seemingly vanished without a trace. Phone data later revealed that her device had traveled north, stopped for about 20 minutes near Interstate 40, then turned south. The final signal was recorded near Highway 641, and after that, the phone was turned off. Search efforts focused on that area, where investigators found her lunchbox, her phone, and her SIM card, but Holly herself was nowhere to be found. This marked the beginning of a 7-year investigation. Over time, multiple suspects came under scrutiny, but even today, the true perpetrator remains a subject of controversy. Clint Bobo, the last person to see Holly alive, naturally became one of the first suspects. His statements showed noticeable inconsistencies. At first, he said he saw the man dragging Holly into the woods, but later he changed his story, saying the man was simply walking with her. This small difference became a crucial detail, as it could determine whether Holly left under force or willingly, ultimately shaping the direction of the investigation. Despite extensive searches, police found no clear signs of struggle in the woods, raising the possibility that Holly may have known and trusted the person she went with. Even more concerning, a neighbor reported hearing a scream, while Clint, who was closer, claimed he heard nothing at all. Police examined his clothing, phone records, and location data, but found no evidence linking him to the crime, and he was eventually cleared as a suspect. Later, Clint explained that he never clearly saw the man's face, which is why he mistakenly believed it was Drew. Later, Clint recalled more details about the man. He estimated the man was around 6'2", weighing between 170 and 200 pounds, wearing camouflage clothing and a baseball cap, with a deep voice and long dark hair. A relative of Holly also revealed that the house was located in a very remote and isolated area, difficult to access. In this small town, people rarely locked their doors, which led the family to believe that the abductor was likely someone local, someone who knew the area well. Police began reviewing nearby residents and individuals with criminal records, eventually focusing on a suspect named Terry Britt, who was around 50 years old. He matched the description given by Clint and had a history of stalking and assaulting women. Britt worked as a newspaper delivery driver, meaning he knew the local roads extremely well, and his route included the area where Holly's lunchbox was later discovered. Clint also believed that Britt's voice sounded very similar to the man he had seen that morning. Britt claimed he had an alibi, saying he was shopping for a bathtub with his wife, but no store employees could confirm seeing them, and within the following week, no such item had been sold. What made the situation even more suspicious was that shortly after Holly disappeared, Britt cut his hair and changed his appearance. During a search of his home and vehicle, police found a handwritten receipt for a bathtub and a chainsaw. Phone records also showed that Britt and his wife were calling each other that morning, which contradicted their claim that they had been together the entire time. Despite intense questioning, Britt denied any involvement and even challenged investigators by attempting to analyze the killer's psychology. Although many officers believed he was responsible, after 8 months, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation paused the case due to a lack of sufficient evidence. The once peaceful town was now filled with fear, and the case quickly gained widespread media attention. Not long after, a special prosecutor was assigned, and the investigation was officially reopened. During a new review, police began focusing on 4 men whose names all started with the same letter and who had prior drug-related offenses. They became known as the A Group. In fact, during the initial investigation, police had already questioned one of them, a man named Shane, just days before the disappearance. A friend of Holly later recalled that while visiting a local county fair, they noticed a slightly overweight man wearing camouflage and glasses. He appeared to be talking on the phone, but kept staring at them in a way that made her feel uneasy. Based on that description, police created a sketch and identified the man as Shane, who lived not far from Holly's home. However, this only proved that he had seen Holly before and was not enough to charge him with a crime. As the investigation continued, a witness came forward claiming that around the time of the disappearance, another member of the group, Zach, had threatened someone by saying they would end up like Holly, buried in the woods. At the time, Zach was 28 years old, unemployed, known for his violent temper, and had the most serious criminal record in the group. Years earlier, he had attacked his own mother with a weapon, forcing his family to seek a restraining order, describing him as a danger to both the family and the community. His younger brother, Dylan, was 24 and worked in construction, also with a history of theft. The two brothers were known to be very close. Another relative, Jason, who was 39 at the time, lived only a few miles from Holly's home. He had previously served in the military and later worked as a truck driver, but also had multiple theft-related offenses. These four men were closely connected and indirectly linked to Holly, making them key suspects in the investigation. As a result, a full-scale inquiry was launched. Prosecutors offered Shane a deal, promising reduced charges or immunity in exchange for the truth. He admitted that he once heard Zach say, "I'll do to you what I did to Holly," but claimed he thought it was just a joke. He denied knowing what had happened to Holly or where she was. However, phone records revealed that on the day of the disappearance, Shane and Zach had communicated multiple times. Investigators suspected Shane may have been involved, but he denied everything and refused to cooperate. After the deal was revoked, and based on statements from Shane and several local witnesses, Zach was officially linked to the case. In May 2014, he was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and kidnapping. 1 month later, Jason was also charged with similar offenses. During the investigation, police discovered that in September 2013, Jason had been arrested for illegal firearm possession and sentenced to 8 months in prison. While he was incarcerated, investigators visited him multiple times to gather information about Holly, and he repeatedly hinted that Zach was involved. After his release, Jason became a key witness and was placed under protection. At that point, all four members of the group were under investigation. In July 2014, attention shifted to two brothers, Jeffrey and Mark, after a surprising lead emerged. Jeffrey's former roommate contacted police and claimed that about 2 months before Holly disappeared, he had shown her a disturbing video. In the footage, a woman named Holly was tied up, lying on the ground and crying. Jeffrey allegedly said that his younger brother Mark was the one who filmed it. Both brothers had criminal records, but they strongly denied the existence of the video and insisted they had never known Holly Bobo. They claimed it was just a coincidence because Jeffrey's ex-wife was also named Holly. Police examined more than 20 phones, but the alleged video was never found. In the end, all attempts to connect the brothers to the case led nowhere. 3.5 years had passed since Holly disappeared. Despite every lead ending in a dead end, the search never stopped. Search dogs and helicopters were deployed, and forests, rivers, and abandoned structures around her home were thoroughly combed. More than 10,000 volunteers joined the effort across Henderson County and nearby areas. The reward fund eventually exceeded $450,000, showing just how determined the community was. This was no longer just a tragedy. It had become the most expensive investigation in the history of Tennessee. 4 years after Holly vanished, a shocking discovery finally broke the silence. In September 2014, in a rural area, 2 men searching for ginseng accidentally found a large overturned plastic container. Inside were human remains. Police quickly confirmed it was Holly Bobo. An autopsy later revealed that she had died from a gunshot wound. Additional remains, along with her wallet and driver's license, were later recovered, officially turning the case from a disappearance into a brutal murder investigation. Just 10 days later, one member of the group finally broke his silence. He admitted that he, along with Zach, Shane, and Jason, had been involved. According to his statement, on the morning Holly disappeared, she was still alive inside a house before being attacked, and the entire incident was allegedly recorded. However, when police searched the suspect's home, they found no such video and no physical evidence to support that claim. Not long after, another suspect was charged, while one of the group members took his own life during the investigation. For Holly's mother, the pain became even more unbearable when she realized that the people responsible were once her own former students. With more than 600 witnesses and over 150,000 pieces of evidence collected, the case took years before finally reaching trial. Due to the lack of direct DNA evidence, witness testimonies became crucial. Jason eventually agreed to cooperate with prosecutors in exchange for a reduced sentence. He described a horrifying version of events. On the morning of the crime, he received a call asking for help disposing of a body. At first, he believed it was an enemy, but was then told it was Holly Bobo. According to him, they wrapped her in a blanket and placed her in a truck. At one point, he realized she might still be alive, but Zach allegedly showed no hesitation and ended her life. Jason claimed he was terrified and left, allowing the others to handle the rest. Days later, he was told the body had been disposed of elsewhere. His testimony painted a disturbing picture, but it also raised serious questions. Prosecutors suggested that the motive may have been opportunistic, claiming the suspects encountered Holly by chance and acted on impulse. Meanwhile, other witnesses described disturbing behavior from the suspects, including statements suggesting they had done something to Holly long before her body was found. However, the defense strongly pushed back. They argued that the testimonies were unreliable due to drug use and the long passage of time. They pointed out multiple inconsistencies, including phone records, timelines, and physical descriptions that did not match. There was no DNA linking the suspects to the crime, and even key physical evidence failed to directly connect them to Holly's death. The trial became intense, filled with conflicting narratives and unanswered questions. In September 2017, after 11 days of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. Zach was found guilty on multiple charges, including first-degree murder, and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, along with additional years. Other individuals involved received separate sentences under plea agreements. In the years that followed, the case took even more unexpected turns. Some key witnesses later recanted their statements, claiming they had been pressured or had fabricated parts of their testimony to avoid harsher punishment. New evidence was also brought forward, including claims that one of the main suspects may not have been at the scene at the time of the crime. These developments raised serious doubts about what truly happened. To this day, the case of Holly Bobo remains one of the most controversial and debated criminal cases in modern American history. While a verdict has been reached, many still question whether justice was truly served. Was the right person convicted, or is there still someone else out there who has never been held accountable? This case serves as a powerful reminder that investigations must rely on solid evidence, not just testimonies, and that once a mistake is made, correcting it can be incredibly difficult. Because in the end, justice is not just about a verdict, it is about the truth. And until every question is answered, this case may never truly be closed. What do you think really happened? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And before you go, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next case.